Hello, everyone, and welcome to this first edition of the LPCx Barcelona. For those of you who are new, LPC, La Product Conf, is an international community of product people who are sharing their experiences and as well as best practices on product management, product design, and product data. Together with the monthly meetups that we host in different cities across Europe, we create every year an annual event where we invite international speakers to share their stories. It's been 2 years now that we're hosting the event both in Paris and in Madrid. And at the same time, we run monthly meetups across various cities in Europe, such as in Barcelona. So for more information, if you're interested both on the annual conference or the monthly meetup, do not hesitate to subscribe to our meetup groups or follow us on LinkedIn. Before starting, I just want you to make you aware that the event will be recorded so that you can rewatch it or share it afterwards. During the event, you can also use the chat section to post your messages, as well as post your questions that we will be able to answer at the end of the discussion. So now, without any further ado, we'll present you our special guest for today's product discussion. Welcome, Remi.
Hey.
So Remi, who's here, who's with us today, he's a mentor, he's a facilitator and a speaker. In his daily basis, he helps entrepreneurs designing innovative strategy that makes a meaningful impact. So he develops sustainable business models that make sense in the face of our new environment. And the methodology he has developed was used already by several sustainable businesses in Europe. He uses 3 underlying principles, which are people, profit, and planet. He believes basically that profit without purpose is not sustainable. And at the same time, purpose without profit is not sustainable either. So Remi contributes to the sustainable business ecosystem with B Academics Europe, BPI France, and Le French Impact. He's also a co-founder at Alter Academy, and he spends most of his time between Paris and Barcelona. And he's with us today remotely. So together with the other co-founder as well, he believes that there is a better way to grow sustainable businesses beyond profit. And to be honest with you, I'm quite impressed by your mission. So why now don't we get started and we jump straight to the subject? What do you believe should be, the starting point of the discussion to trigger this reflection on sustainable businesses?
Thank you very much, Alessandro. So, question is, yes, it's possible, to be profitable and responsible, and we believe maybe there is not another way to conduct business properly in the years to come. But for the designers, we thought it was maybe important to say what would be the starting point in this new world, this new economy. As a designer, where should I start? I have this blank page where the intuition, the inspiration should come from. And we believe that you probably need to start. I have a small visual here. You should probably ask yourself what is the company values? What are the corporate values? And that we believe it's something awesome that should guide you in this designing process. So who is the first of these 4 big questions, the 4 big words that could be an inspiration for you guys? Corporate values. Why are we here is probably the second big point. That refers to the purpose, to the company's mission. The why is, why are we here? Why do we exist as a company? What is our mission? What are we here for? And the third big question is the what, because big bosses, they have a direction that they would like everybody to follow. And we all working in an organization, and we work towards achieving that goal, and that's the what. And how do we do that? How do we grow a company? And that is the strategy. And as a designer, we're part of this strategy. How can I contribute to have this business growing? And probably the proper way to do that is asking yourself those four big questions. The who, what are the corporate values? That is like a compass for you to develop new solutions, new ways. And then you have this purpose. Why are we here? And then the vision. We're here to achieve a certain goal, and we have to have all these four questions, big questions in mind. And that would probably be a great way to start when you design something and you want to make sense of it all. Maybe not to be remembered for centuries, but maybe in a more modest way, starting by, okay, how do I bring sense in all that? Yeah, and that would be probably a good starting point. Yeah.
All right. And so let's now maybe get straight to the heart of our discussion, no? And what would be your key messages? Like, if we were starting with the end, what would be the most important thing that you want to tell us, or the one thing that we should remember from this talk?
Okay. Probably in terms of design, what's important is the mindset. So what is your mindset? Are you very much in tech? Are you in the tech is beautiful club, or are you in the users club? What wakes you up at night? Is it what is going to be the new tech, or how can I make a difference in this world? How can I help people do things? What is the job they want to do, and how can I help? How can I assist them in doing so? In the office, we have this colleague of mine who's a little bit like this geek guy, of the team, and he's always happy listing all this tech stuff that no one ever buys, and it's often jokes from all of us to him, and sometimes he doesn't buy them, and I was thinking of that when I was preparing this conference with you. He show up in the office, and because he goes there on the Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and he had this vacuum shoes, from Denso. He was coming back from a trip from Japan, and he brought that. I mean, and that's from Denso, and it's great, and it's true. I mean, functionally, it works. It vacuums. The dust goes away. And but point number one, it's not very easy to walk with the shoes.
Right.
And point number two, who's going to adopt that? No one's going to buy that. And it's, I mean, all these funny guys. Oh, I always have that in mind. In the the guy who developed that, has he made a big difference in this world? Why are we doing this? So I think that's probably important, and maybe that's your takeaway, Alessandro. Is, are you taking push? Are you pushing tech? I'm sorry. Are you in this mindset that tech is beautiful, or are you in love with your users' problems? And if we go back to number one, what is your mission? Why you're here? Why have you chosen this fantastic job to be a designer? Why are you here? Are you here because tech is fantastic? And truly it is. But you can also consider your job as making your share into making a better world. And I think that probably would be the key message for the show tonight. Is what's your mindset?
Yeah, very interesting. And so how can we achieve that? Like, perhaps we can crunch customer data, we can talk with salespeople, directly with our customers. What do you think?
Well, all of that is great. I mean, if you want to get more of who's that user that you're targeting, you should probably try to gather all the data you can on who they are, what's it's like their life at work. If you're in B2B, if you're in a B2C company, maybe try to imagine how they live in their kitchen, in bedroom, and do they go often in their sofa, lying, watching TV, or it's important to walk their life in their shoes. You know, maybe there's a little something I could share is I really love this Brian De Palma's movie, The Untouchables. It's it's probably in my top 10 ever of the best movies. You know, in the there's a moment where Sean Connery goes to Kevin Costner playing Elliot Ness, and he's asking him, "What are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do?" You know, in order to bring Al Capone, who's played by De Niro, who's fantastic in that movie. What are you prepared to do to bring Al Capone to justice? Are you ready to go to get a gun, put a gun in your pockets of all of your team members? Are you ready to go the Chicago way? You know, and I could return that question to you guys. You know, what are you prepared to do in order to change people's life? You know, and that would probably be a very personal question, but are you ready to make a difference? Are you prepared to go to go along that path? You know, and maybe so what you said is great. I mean, of course, there is data somewhere in this company, and it's probably spread among departments, but nothing will probably replace your time spent out of the office sharing the everyday life of your users. I've illustrated this with this picture because we sometimes call that exploration safari. And nothing will feed your intuition more than sharing the daily life of your users. Walk in their shoes, you know, immerse yourself. A couple of years back in the Iran-Iraq war, a lot of the American people would go to the government and say, we want to know what's going on there in this faraway place where we have thousands of army forces in that conflict. And so, I mean, the army had to open up doors, and they used a word that is taken from the technology environment in the PC computer assembly lines where you embed stuff inside the plastic box.
Yeah.
And they decided to embed journalists within the army tanks. Besides, they didn't have guns; they have their video cam, and that, I think that's an interesting image. You know, how often do you go out of the office? How often do you share the daily life of your users? Can you embed yourself? Can you immerse yourself in their daily life in the office? When they go to go back home, how do they spend their evenings, weekends, and holidays, depending on the business you're in? But that would probably be the more powerful way to nourish your intuition. And we can even say, I mean, nothing can go wrong in your design if all you did is inspired by the daily life of your customer. So if you, and it all depends to, if you remember of Sean Connery, it all depends on well, what are you prepared to do? You know, do you want to go incremental? You know, in inserting, embedding a technology in the next stuff, in the new version of, which is great. I mean, that's fine. I mean, it would be stupid not to do it. You know, if tech can improve, if the voice, your virtual assistant can improve your service, it would be stupid not to do it. But would it be enough? Would it be fully satisfactory? You know, and your design wouldn't be very radical, wouldn't be change people's lives. So it's very much a question of probably what are you prepared to do.
All right. So what I can get from you is that we basically need to be obsessed with our customers. A similar obsession maybe that the guys at Amazon or Netflix have. But at the same time, don't you think that there are other stakeholders that we as product people we should take into account? Perhaps when it comes to a more let's say radical innovation process, shouldn't we be more collaborative and inclusive at the same time with more people?
Excellent. Maybe first I will go back to the starting point of a question, which I find very interesting. When you were referring to Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how they build their companies. Like Bezos in 1997, over 20 years ago, started a business saying everyone he would he would onboard Amazon, saying, but I did this customer obsession. And they have the terms they're using at Amazon. They're saying that voice of customer. They're calling VOC. And it's very common at Amazon. It's voice of customer. What does he say? What will he say? Okay, you've designed that. What will he say? Would he like it? Would he like that? Or is it just a functionality that perhaps will not be used? At Tesla, very early in the first pitch that Elon Musk did, he talked about customer advocacy. That means that he wanted everyone in the marketing team to be an advocate, to be there to represent not Tesla in the outside world, but to represent Tesla's customers within Tesla. So if you're marketing a Tesla, when you raise your hand, you're speaking in the name of the Tesla community, the Tesla customers. And as a Tesla customer, you know that you have a voice within the company to defend better service, quicker service, and so on. So that is probably important, especially if we place it into the subject on designing a product that makes an impact, and that is probably on the second part of your question, but as well on the introduction you made at start, is what we probably can consider is that it will be difficult to build a company where you only work on profit. I think profit is fantastic because it helps the company grow, and the more you grow, the more impact you'll have on people and planet. So that's probably very interesting to consider. Thinking about the future of your organization, not only in profit like they did with Milton Friedman 1950s, where the sole mission of a company would to feed the shareholders with cash, working on dividend. And that was the sole mission of company, is to produce dividend for the shareholders.
Right.
I mean, that was 70 years ago. Today, within your team, you need to ask yourself, maybe, have I made my people grow? Are the teams growing? Are the people making that team are growing? What is the difference in between when that guy joined my team earlier and how he is today? How is she today as a person? Is she a better person? Have I made it possible for her to grow within the team, to grow personally, to grow socially, to grow professionally, and to grow financially as well? And that's very important as a team member to have that people vector in mind, because that is probably a key success for the years to come. And of course, planet, because we've finished, we're done with the endless world, and that also the signification that impact can have is what is the difference in between what you take to our planet and what you give back? And making that calculation will give you an indication on the impact you're having in our planet, in our environment. So it's very interesting to see how those three areas work in common. People, profit, planet. Because profit without purpose, and I like these lines that you mentioned at start. Profit without purpose is not sustainable. If the way you make profit is stupid with people and doesn't make sense to the planet, you're not going to go very far in the years to come. But in the meantime, as you said, if you're just a purpose person and profit is not an issue, well, you're just a nice guy having a good time with a couple of friends, and you're not going to grow. And therefore, all you do, even though it makes a lot of sense, will not have a big impact, because it will reach not a massive audience, but just a few people around you. So probably you can work with 5 vectors. So of course, it's important as a team member and even as a designer to understand who are the shareholders of your organization, to understand what they want for the company you're working for. It's important that you work to make your team grow, because otherwise it will be difficult to keep on going at whatever the growth rate you're having. If you forget about your users, you're going to be like my colleague with his Denso vacuum shoes. And we've talked about the planet, and there's also another vector, which is the community. And that is very important to pay attention to the people that live around you. You know, like we can do in Barcelona. You know, it's important, and you can see a lot of companies in Barcelona that ask themselves, how can I contribute to the community, to the city, you know, to Catalonia? How can I help the region grow? How can I contribute? And that also very important, because when you realize that someone that is working in your team is also a user and also a citizen. So your user is also working in a company and also a citizen in his community. So it's important to realize that teams, customers, and citizen is one and only and the same person. So that's a little more into details, the people, profit, planet. Yeah.
And you mentioned profit, and behind a profit, there's always a business model. And so since you're here, maybe perhaps we can deep dive into what a sustainable business model is and what it means.
Yeah. So so you have part of the response with those 5 circles. We can also, enhance that, saying that, it's good sometimes to realize you're not the only one, and that the saying goes that, like, when Larry says it, we should probably pay attention. This guy here is the boss of BlackRock. BlackRock is the largest asset management company worldwide. I mean, with managed asset amounting to $7.5 trillion. I mean, that's a lot of figures, big figure, a lot of zeros there. And even if that guy is a big guy, you can link that to the models that have put in place. Every day, more and more companies joining the movement. And I like Ola Luz, because they're talking about movement, they're talking about a revolution. And you can find that, I've seen some people connecting from France. You can have that with Fred Mazzella at BlaBlaCar. You have that with a company that is growing extremely rapidly in the US today, which is called Insect. Their mission is that in a 10 billion people planet, no one could be left with malnutrition problem. So their mission is to feed a planet of 10 billion people. We have that in the news every day. A couple of days ago, with VP signing a very strong agreement with re-commerce. With they will be selling second-hand devices on their VP website, which is reaching millions of Europeans every day. I mean, the VP is growing very big. You have that with OVH, for instance. OVH has innovated in the way they are cooling their farm of servers. Or what else do we have? In Barcelona, you have FC Barcelona, who's a massive, major actor to cement the community. It's amazing the work they do. They have 144,000 owners. The members, Los Culos. They own the club. Yeah. They own the club. It's awesome what they're doing for the community. It's remarkable. You have companies like Pension. They believe that someone in his old age shouldn't be left alone. So they allowing anyone in Spain to make sure that he will have a decent life when he will be old or disabled. And it's awesome to work for those companies. In France, you have Alan. Alan is regularly cited for the UX of his mobile app. But Alan is an amazing company for another reason, is that it's changing the way people are dealing with insurance. Most insurance companies, they're there when you're sick. Alan believes that their job is making sure that you don't feel sick. So, they would recommend you to do things that are good for you, and that's amazing how these guys from FC Barcelona to BlaBlaCar to Alan to Olaluz are doing it a new way. And that model is not only just purpose, it's just not a local association. I mean, they're there to change the world, and Olaluz, they started because they wanted to make a difference in Spain. They didn't start as a utility company. They didn't start as an energy company. Their mission is not to give electricity to people. Their mission is to empower people, because they believe energy is so important that people shouldn't be in a situation where there's shortages, to be in a situation where they can't pay the bill. So they're making sure that everybody is equipped to be autonomous in terms of energy production. So everybody is becoming energy efficient, energy autonomous.
Yeah.
So and imagine how fantastic it is to work with these guys, and they're making their team grow, and it has a big impact on the planet as well. If we go on with Olaluz, the way they do it, and it's not just because they want the energy distribution to be fair. They are empowering people, and they're basically building solar panels on the roof so that they become energy producers. And it's a big difference. But think how awesome it is to be part of that team. Imagine the guy who's designer at Olaluz. How can I do more? And this guy, maybe they have they're a big fan of the Untouchables as well. They're ready to go quite far away. But it's a movement. That's why I've picked Olaluz, because they're using the word movement, they're using the word revolution, and they're very much living in our times today. We believe that this is the new model of the decade. You cannot do less if you want to succeed, if you want to grow your company, if you want to contribute to what your company is offering.
That's very interesting. Very interesting. And if we now want to get a little bit more practical, like how can we make it work in a real business context? Perhaps you can give us some example to practice it.
Okay. There's maybe I could take an example from my first eco-conception project.
Yeah.
So that was some time ago, but that was with Orange in the UK. And the job was to think about how you can digitize the invoicing. They're printing millions of invoices each month, and the question is how could improve that. So we've worked in terms of tech components that you select, and you select them because of the reliability. You select them because of durability. We've worked with the production cycle. We've traced all the supply chain, and we've worked in terms of waste, in terms of emissions, in terms of energy consumption, and that when Orange UK was bought by France Telecom at the time and spread in 10 countries in Europe, and it was spread even now in Africa, where Orange is present as well in 10 countries. So that had an impact. Why? Because it's sustainable, and if we go back to the title of La Product Conf, this is a new model, for people that want to design a product that makes an impact. And sustainable, what I'd like to offer is the definition of what sustainability means, because we hear a lot about sustainability. Sustainable is an impact in the long run. And if you want to achieve that, you need to be responsible, but you also need to be profitable. you mentioned in the opening, and sustainable is what is the impact I will have in the long run, just like we did with the digitization of invoicing, of the billing system at companies. And today, Orange is selling that as a service to organization. So design has allowed companies to move further down the line in their digitization process, thanks to the digitization of their billing system, and makes a big impact. Now, we've discussed a lot with you, Alessandro, on how we could make this more tangible, more useful because I understand that that's what you really want to do with the LPCx. And we've started to draw that chart. And what I like is that you put design at step number one. I mean, you as a designer on central stage. So that is important to realize the responsibility that you hold in your hands. Your design, your beautiful design, your pure design will impact production, which in turn will impact delivery, which in turn will impact the administration, that makes that service available to the users. And then in the company, you will offer maintenance and also important to include the end of life cycle. After the usage, what's going to happen? And I think designer has a responsibility in all that, because all you can do impacts data centers. It will impact the network. It will greatly impact the user, and we've discussed that before with one of your questions earlier in this conference, and it will also, what you design will also impact the devices the user are using. So in terms of practical, tangible takeaway that you want to give your LPCx guys, that would probably be this. Realize that in terms of designer, the title designer comes with the responsibility, not only in terms of profits. Remember the starting point. I mean, you're here to deliver a strategy that will help the business grow. You're here to increase the satisfaction of your users. You mentioned Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk that are obsessed with their customer. And it will impact also our planet, especially if in everything you draw, you design, you make, you realize that it has an impact on the data center farms, on the network worldwide, on the daily life of your users and the devices they're using. Yeah.
Very interesting indeed. Perhaps there is anything else that we could take inspiration from, any pills that you want to share with us, or example to illustrate how successful companies have done that in the past?
So I recognize there your great professionalism. 2 minutes to go before the question and answer session. There's maybe I can share two things, which is linear economy versus circular economy, and probably with a quick example with the company, an American company, who invented probably the best way to actually deliver a circular economy business model, and it's called Patagonia. So first, I mean, when you look at our fathers, the way they did business in the 20th century, that was a very much linear economy that was based on a value chain. Maybe I could illustrate this here. So that's where we're coming from. In the linear economy of our fathers, it all started with R&D, and then that would produce a sheet, and we would fulfill that sheet, and we would ask mining companies to ship us stuff so that we can move on to production. And then whatever we produce would go onto a feeding and assembly line, and whatever comes out of the factories would go into carton boxes, on pallets, on ship containers, and that would go straight to the point of sale. From the past decade or so, we've seen companies actively moving onto the more recycling economy. But probably what we could give in this end of conversation is circular economy, which is probably where we need to look at with our Googles in the years to come. And Patagonia, in fact, is the one company that illustrated this circular economy using the 5Rs method. They asked the designers, they had this big meeting with all the designers, because several hundreds of people work in that company. And now they're challenging Nike and Nordstrom. It's growing at an impressive rate. And they get the designers and ask them, how could we reduce material? How can we reduce energy consumption? How can we reduce waste? How can we reduce gas emissions? And how we can improve reliability and durability in order to make stuff that is repairable. So whenever you have something's broken, you can make sure that Patagonia has all on offer to make sure that what's repairable will be repaired. How could we reuse? And maybe a good illustration of this is Patagonia was the first company to open up a shop at eBay. And they were encouraging their customers, if you have one of our gears in your cupboard that you're not using, please send it back to us and we'll feed our shop on eBay on that secondhand shop so that more people can use and reuse the stuff. And then they also asked designers to think about the recycled ratio of the material they were using in the conception of the gears. And they give the designer the responsibility to continuously reimagine the process of designing new things. So I'd be quite happy to leave you with that. How can I reduce? How can I make it repairable? If that applies to you, if you are in a virtual business, if you're in an online store or platform, if you're working on the UX of a mobile app, if you're in SaaS or software, ask yourself, how does that apply to me? These key principles of eco-conception, that would be a nice word to maybe end it here.
All right, guys. Time for questions now. Thank you, Remi. Was very insightful. By the way, Remi told me earlier that he would be willing to share his case studies with all of you. So we will be circulating an email after this event ends. We received a question earlier on outside this channel, which was, how do you believe the top management react, to that, making sure that they're taking into account not only profit but also the planet and the people surrounding you?
Very good question. Very good question. It's crucial that you feel there's a movement that is on, and we will not go back. People in teams will not want to work at companies that are not responsible. Users will less and less go and buy stuff that doesn't make sense, that is not up to par to their values. And people in your community, wherever you live, they will not accept that a company comes in and does whatever, whenever, however. It's very important, and we feel that very much with entrepreneurs and even directors at large corps. Very often we have a meeting and they start the meeting with, I have this HR problem, it's getting more and more complex recruiting people, the people we like, the people we want, they don't, and they realize that people are not just the Y or the Z or the whatever generations, it's even people my age. I'm not 80 years old, but people coming from any roots, any age, any country, and it's very strong in Europe. People are not willing to work for a company that doesn't have strong values, and those values are not making aren't real in day-to-day work, you know. So if you feel that it's getting more and more difficult to recruit the talent that you really need to grow a company, you have a problem. If you feel that the tenure in years of your people is reducing, well, I mean, big bosses at large corps are realizing that. Same with customers. You know, sometimes we have meetings with big bosses at large corps, and they start saying, well, you know, I'm just out of this meeting with marketing, and I realize that we need to pay every day more and more to get customers that go for an amount that is less and less, and they stay less and less. You know, so ask yourself, why our customers are here? Are they here just by chance because they clicked? Are they here because it was a good deal, because it was Black Friday or Cyber Monday? Or do they choose to custom with you because it makes sense to them? And same with the community. You know, in the past, when you would open up a new facility in a village somewhere, you would have the mayor welcoming you, having a little drink, and how happy he was for you to bring another 10 to 100 jobs. It's not quite the same today. They're asking you a lot of questions about your waste, your emission, the impact, but how are you going to contribute to boost our economy? But I'm bringing you this facility. Yeah, but it's like, what are you prepared to do? You know, do you feel here? You know, do you support? You know, so we will not go back. There's no way, because the team, the people will not accept it. Your customers will not accept it, and the citizens in your community will not accept it.
It's definitely something we should all think about it, especially when defining and designing a new product.
I can even add that in some countries, you know, like Spain, France, you may have more and more corporate obligations. You know, in France they call it entreprise à mission, but you find it in Brussels. A lot of new regulation is coming. You probably heard about the B Corp movement, the benefit corp movement. There's in Barcelona the lady that is responsible for B Academics for Europe, Veronica. I mean, the government realized that they're not going to change the world. The people realized that even with their credit card, it will not be enough to change the world. NGOs realized that they're not going to be able to change the world. They've tried that for 30 years, doesn't work. So there's only one guy who's going to be able to change the world. You know, it's the entrepreneur. So it's now our responsibility as entrepreneurs to change the world, because we are the only one who's going to be able to do it. And no one will understand that we're not doing it. So it's going to be easier and easier to speak up the subject within the walls of your organization, because every day more and more people join the movement.
You're totally right. I feel like I could stay here and talk with you for hours on this subject. Well,
we'll have coffee someday, you know.
Exactly. So listen, it looks like that was the last one and only question for today. So before closing, I'd like to thank you once again, Remi, for this incredible discussion. And of course, all of you for being present today. Don't forget to subscribe to our meetup group to receive more news. We will definitely host new product discussions in the next month. So stay tuned. That's it for today, and thanks everyone once again, and see you next time.
Thank you, Alessandro.
Enjoy your evening. Bye.
Bye.